Well, it seems like Days Gone 2 and a new Uncharted game are both canned by Sony. I have to say, Sony has been making some pretty questionable decisions here recently. Let's talk about it. Alrighty guys, so sharing my screen over here, I have an article pulled up. I will of course have the cited or source down there in the description below, as I always do anytime I cover any kind of news in the gaming community or industry. So, Days Gone 2 and a new Uncharted game reportedly canceled by Sony. So, Sony's Bend Studio reportedly not getting a sequel to its open-world zombie game Days Gone. The first game's lengthy development process and mixed critical reception. There definitely was a very mixed reception, but the game at launch is not the game that we have now, much like No Man's Sky, as people call it, which indeed did become No Man's Sky after several patches and updates that made the game a lot better than its initial condition. They didn't really pull a Cyberpunk where it's actually going backwards. Each major patch or update is actually introducing new bugs and glitches into the game, but it's not a viable option for them. They don't think sales are going to be high enough for it to be lucrative for them to produce this game. And I can see that. To be 110% honest, I can understand that, and I'm not really upset about that decision, but I do want to cover their decision to can two potential Uncharted games. The Oregon-based studio is reportedly split into two teams, one supporting The Last of Us developer Naughty Dog, who also makes Uncharted, by the way, also makes Crash Bandicoot and a bunch of other goodies, with a multiplayer game, which a lot of people are rumoring or speculating to be a bolt-on or attachment to Last of Us 2, while a second group was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog. Well, I should hope they would be under severe direct supervision, considering Naughty Dog, that's their IP, that's their original game. As the Uncharted series is a Naughty Dog IP, members of Bend Studio were reportedly unhappy with this arrangement and feared it would... This is a typo right here. I highlighted it. I don't know who the editor is over there at this journalistic platform, NME. I don't think I've ever used NME before for any of my news videos, but I think that's supposed to be an end, as in it would end the studio becoming absorbed. This whole sentence right here doesn't read very well. Feared it would end the studio becoming absorbed by Naughty Dog. Bend is, however, now working on a new unannounced game that will be part of a new franchise, so a brand new game altogether. Meanwhile, Naughty Dog has been hiring developers, so if any of you watching this video are game devs, Naughty Dog is hiring, and hopefully they're treating their devs better than we've seen during the production of Last of Us 2, where people are being hospitalized from working ungodly hours and whatnot, for a new multiplayer game since last month. The same report indicates that an unannounced studio had also planned to remake the first Uncharted game. This was considered to be expensive and required too much added design work. So a full remake, not a remaster where they basically bump up the resolution, put some new textures and shaders in there. This is a full-on remake of the original Uncharted game. Now, I'm going to cover this a little bit more and give you guys my opinion on the Uncharted series after I finish this article, because I got some things to say. I have some words on the topic. I'm going to open my change purse and drop my 2 cents, my 2 shekels on the floor. This studio decided... This article just, it gets my blood boiling a little bit. Sony's recent decisions, like, for example, closing the PS3 store, PS Vita, PSP. Meanwhile, Xbox not only has a expansive library of classic games all the way back to the original Xbox, but they're boosting the frame rate and adding HDR and ray tracing and a bunch of other things to these old titles, not to mention making them playable on your mobile phone via streaming from your Xbox. And PlayStation's like, no, let's can all these old games, including one of the finest, best single-player stories pretty much ever on the PlayStation platform. That kind of solidified the fact that Sony has kick-ass exclusives. And we're just gonna can that for a game that nobody really cares about. Now, I'm not saying people don't care about Last of Us 2. It's a great game, but we already have a remake of Last of Us. They're remaking it again. They pulled the team off of a project that would actually be awesome to remake a game that's already been remade. So it's called the double remake or the double remaster. There's already memes about it on the box saying like the remaster and stuff like that. What are you gonna add? A little bit higher frame rate? Maybe ray tracing? Maybe implementation of the features of the new DualSense 5 controller, like the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers? yeah, that'd be cool and all, but is it worth pulling a team off of a project like Uncharted? The answer to that is no. As well as remakes, Sony is also working on multiple movies and TV show adaptations of PlayStation games, including, and I have covered a video on the Uncharted movie that will be linked in the description below. It was quite some time ago. I went over the cast. For example, Mark Wahlberg is already on set working as Sully, and Tom Holland is playing a younger version of Drake, basically taken under the wing of Sully, learning how to be a thief and, you know, all that good stuff. The HBO series Last of Us, and a live-action movie for Ghost of Tsushima. All three of those, I think, are going to be pretty awesome. If they execute it properly, these three games right here have phenomenal storytelling. So if they can transition that to TV shows and movies, I'm all for it. Also, side point, I saw this little advertisement down here for PowerA Fusion. I'm actually in correspondence right now with a PowerA marketing representative to get a controller sent out to me for review for you guys. So that's awesome. I guess the channel's growing or something if I'm getting reached out to by relatively good-sized companies like PowerA. So here's what I'll say. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to this little screen right here. This does upset me. Between Sony canning its servers for, I can understand PSP, I can understand PS3. Now, you are still able to play these older games if you own them, but you cannot purchase any new titles, you cannot get updates or DLC for these, and that basically makes you, need to rely on physical copies from your local GameStop, which is good for GME or GameStop to get people in the door, specifically to buy pre-owned PS3 and PS Vita games and PSP games. But here's the thing, and Rich over there at Review Tech mentioned this, there are still developers making games to this day for PS Vita, and they did not even know that Sony was going to be, they didn't give them a heads up or anything. These people are actively developing games for the Vita. And then when the public finds out, that's when they were informed, hey, stop developing this game that you've been working on for months or maybe even years. You're not going to be able to sell it because we're not going to have a store. Kind of sketchy. So just that in combination with the way that they're handling backward compatibility, which you think Sony would have more appreciation for, considering one of the major selling factors for PlayStation, why people go for a PlayStation over an Xbox, especially because, the Xbox One X versus the PS4 Pro, the PS5 versus the Xbox Series X, there's stronger components. That's not an opinion, that's a fact there. I have both consoles, I'm not a fanboy or anything like that, but if you want just the most powerful console, it's an Xbox. Technically, it's a PC, but if we're just talking consoles here. So Sony owes a lot of its fan base to their kick-ass exclusive games like Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Uncharted, Spider-Man, Gran Turismo, God of War. I could go on. They have there's no shortage over there at Sony. But the fact that they're trying to remake Last of Us, which it's already been remade, how much more are you going to do for PS5? And that'd be cool if they remade the first Uncharted game, but they should be in development of a new Uncharted game. I get that they kind of wrapped up the series and everything, and Drake's retired and stuff, but does he have a son, maybe? He could come out of retirement? I mean, a new Uncharted game fully pushing the horsepower of the PS5 because it's developed as a exclusive. And when I mean exclusive, I mean it's not playable on PS4. There is no PS4 support for it. That way, the developer team is not held back by the weakest hardware, which in this case would be a PS4 Slim or PS4 Original. Obviously the PS4 Pro, slightly, well, more than slightly, but it's underneath the PS5, and then you get your PS4 Slim and Original down there. So as long as there's no support for that, they could develop this game from the ground up to be a native PS5 proprietary exclusive, which we don't have that many of. We have like 3, pretty much. Sackboy, Astro's Playroom, which is baked in there, and then Miles Morales, but that's kind of its own thing because I'm playing that game right now. I'm going to have a review on this channel. It's more of a DLC. It was originally supposed to be a PS4 add-on, DLC for Spider-Man. And then they're like, well, PS5 is about to get launched. Let's make it a PS5 game. But it still feels a little bit like DLC in my opinion. Not that it's a bad game, because it is not. And then as for Days Gone, me personally, I would play Days Gone too. And I think with all the lessons learned from how the game launched and everything, if they were to take the heat, the thunder, the momentum that they had from the end of that game's life cycle or whatever when they added all the updates and patches and made it fun. They not only worked out all the bugs and glitches, but then they added new features, like you could actually change controller mappings for the analog stick and stuff like that. So they added features that weren't there at launch. And then it became a good game. And I do think people would have bought that on PS5. But especially an Uncharted game, I know for a fact, I'm not the only Uncharted fan out there. I know that a lot of diehard PlayStation fans are huge fans of the Uncharted series. So the fact that they brought the Naughty Dog off of that to work on Last of Us is just, it's kind of silly to me. It's a little bit silly. But honestly, I want to know what you guys think. Drop in the comments section below your guys' opinion on this debacle and everything that Sony has been doing recently. Like I said, they've been making a lot of harebrained decisions here, in my opinion, and I want to know if you guys think it's justified, that they're on the right track, or if they're kind of losing their way a little bit. Like, they really don't give a shit about their old games. And from what I've seen, they're not doing a lot for new games either. I mean, we have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart coming soon, but there's not like a whole lot of, Gran Turismo, the new one, got delayed. There's not a lot of new PS5 content coming out, which for somebody that owns a PS5, it's kind of frustrating. Granted, I'm playing a lot of older stuff, but Jesus Christ. If you enjoyed this video, liking it helps it to get seen by more people, which helps me grow my little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover a lot of news in the gaming community and industry, as well as tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.